I apologize for the background sound. I'm at a track meet with my bus, and I got dueling ice cream trucks behind me. Southern California Transportation Company spins book. This book is for zones 2 through 28, covers San Luis Obispo, south to Gaviota, including the Lompoc branch and the Whitetail branch and Vandenburg Air Force Base. So you get to see how Vandenburg Air Force Base used to be compared to today. Definition of what SPIN stands for. These books were issued to train crews to show them where to spot cars so they could be loaded or unloaded. Here we have, tells again which zones, and then each track has a number and it tells the crews where to spot it. So if it's a piggyback ramp, put on the piggyback ramp, not the auto ramp. If it's going to be interchanged with other railroads, open areas, there's no signs, just park it in the field, maybe they got a track mobile or something to come get it. Here you're starting out with the San Luis Obispo yard. In this case, it's SLO, S-L-O. You got, shows zone 2, shows the main storage track is 2,031 feet, and it's not giving any cars in there. Here the house track can hold 1 car. So the top number here on the right column is the length of the track, spur or siding, and how many cars can be spotted there. Here's where it says spots 2 or 3. That would be on the paperwork as to which spot to put it on. So here's the other businesses. If it's spiked, that means it's probably out of service, and then after they're spiked, if no business moves in there, eventually they'll start taking the switch apart and then pull out the track. It's an interesting process. They need a switch point, they pull that off. And if it still doesn't need the business, they come back for more pieces and cannibalize it. The graduate, spot 1. Then you got the yard tracks. The San Luis Obispo yard does not look like this anymore. I went through there in 2019 on the Coast.Line and saw what it looks like now compared to what it looked like in the past. Big difference. I'm having to pretend I know where the bridge is. It has now been built, but here shows the San Luis Obispo yard. Down here it shows this lead has been spiked. This one's been spiked. Orcutt Avenue. More businesses heading down toward Pismo Beach. Our next group of companies. Grover. Pismo Oceano. Looks like Phelan and Taylor was a big produce company. Same with Phelan Brothers. Are they in relation to Joe Phelan, the guy that they named the town I live off after down in Southern California. And here's more tracks. Zone 4, Part 1. Oceano. Zone 4, Part 2. Coast.Line. Zone 6. I have a one ups here. Take a look. Now, Southern Pacific didn't follow the rules about where you put a map. Any map in the world, other than these things, north is at the top of the page. In this case, east is at the top of the page, and the ocean's behind us. More businesses. Southern Pacific Transportation Company, Guadalupe piggyback, trailer and flat car, Guadalupe drill track, Bird Produce. There was a lot of spots for that warehouse. Guadalupe yard tracks, Guadalupe main track, passing track. And then Santa Maria, it has 4 interchange tracks way back when, in 1981. They're not there today. And then we have the Guadalupe yard, as it was in 1981. These tracks over here are the interchange tracks for the Santa Maria. I was out there a few months ago. I think I only saw 1 interchange track, but I could be wrong. I might not know what I was looking at. Continuing south, here's these businesses. Up here is the, where my thumb's sitting, that's the tracks going for Santa Maria. So these things are not to scale. You could be the next town over, but they show where the last item was so that you don't get too lost. Now we get into Tangier and the first set of tracks at Vandenburg. Back in 76 or 77, I was on base as a teenager on a field trip, and I actually got to see them moving cars around with rocket boosters. We weren't allowed to get too close, but we could see them moving some rocket boosters around too. And then they were pulled off, used a crane, and dropped into a tube for launching. Saw some weird stuff at that base all those years ago. More Vandenburg. And then this shows the Y and then breaking off for Vandenburg. On the next page, you get to see the balloon track. Now, it shows right here that this was spiked. This lead was spiked, and then it shows this darkened, so this went from being a passing track to a stepped-in spur. Here's a familiar name, Surf. East leg of the Y. West leg of the Y at Surf. Oh. Ice cream truck stopped over. We now have 2 ice cream trucks. Great. Lompoc storage track. Lompoc banded storage. Another spiked one. Another spiked. John's Manville had a lot of business. Don't know what kind of business that was, but they had a lot. And Surf. And this shows the Wyatt Surf branching off onto the Lone Pine branch. Lone Pine branch is that way. Now we're coming off the main line and going in a easterly direction, showing all the businesses that existed in 1981. The branch is still used. They believe to get diatomaceous earth up in the hills. Here, tracks continue going east into town. And then there's a reverse movement coming up. From what I've seen when I was in town last time, right about here, a caboose is kept. So when they do the push up to the plant, the crew can be on the caboose and work their way up to the mine. And this shows a different angle. Here's the tracks coming up, the reverse movement where the caboose is kept, and then going up to Whitehill Railroad where they mine for diatomaceous earth. Continuing on the Coast Ranch again, heading toward the second part of Vandenburg Air Force Base. It's a very large base. Lots of tracks. Lots of interesting stuff launched from there over the years. Here shows the tracks. There's Honda over here. There's a washout at Honda recently. Now when you see this, all these tracks here like 2622, 2620, 2613 down here, these are tracks that the Southern Pacific would switch. This says interchange tracks. This stuff in here would have been done by Vandenburg's own switch engines. They might be going into classified areas or places they don't want regular civilian crews going into. That's why they're not numbered, because Southern Pacific wasn't allowed to play there. Southern Pacific may have just dropped their engines off to do the work with the crew from the military and then got back into them when they came back to civilian areas. I don't know, I'm not familiar with that operation. Maybe someone knows and they can make a comment in the comment section down below. Conception passing a sighting. An LNG flat. Here's your next one. Try and get in focus so you can see the whole page. We have Sakate track. Did I say that right? And there's Gaviota. And that's the end of that book.